Hello everybody, my name is Dratnos and welcome to part 3 of my Outlaw Rogue PvE guide, Single Target Rotation. So my goal here is to cover as much as possible about Outlaw Rogue in single target, including openers, roll the bones, what buttons to press, just the full rotation. That's the idea. However, there are a few things that I can't cover in this video. There's just a lot of things and I want to make the video concise, and these are edge cases that I don't think come up all that often. So here are the things that I'm not going to cover in this video. I'm not going to cover what happens if you have multiple copies of the Snake Eyes trait, because that does change your rotation. If you only have one copy of the Snake Eyes trait, just use what it says in this video. There's no changes you need to make to your rotation. I'm also not going to cover what happens if you run the talents Ghostly Strike, Marked for Death, Slice and Dice. All these are rare talents to be correct to pick, so I'm not going to tell you what to do if you do pick them. However, if you are interested in any of this kind of information, a good source for more information is a written guide. There are two very good ones that I know of. The ones at Ravenholt and Wowhead, and there are links to each of those in the description below, and you may find those useful even to supplement this video, even if none of the stuff in this slide is anything that you have. So the first question you need to ask yourself before every global as an Outlaw Rogue is, do I want to be spending or building combo points on this global? Now the numbers here are for Vigor. If you're playing Deeper Stratagem, a different talent, you'll have 1 extra combo point, so you should add 1 to all the numbers on this slide. And the answer to this question varies depending on the number of combo points you have and a couple of other factors as well. If you have 5 combo points, use a finisher. If you're at 4 combo points but you have either a pistol shot proc or the broadsides, the combo point buff roll active, then you should also use a finisher. We don't want to use a builder if we have a pistol shot proc active, because our two options would be to either use Sinister Strike and risk getting another pistol shot proc and therefore wasting 1, or using pistol shot and being guaranteed to waste a combo point, and we want to avoid that as well. We also want to use a finisher if we have the broadsides buff active, because again, we'd be guaranteed to waste combo points if we pressed either Sinister Strike or any other builder in that spot. However, if you have neither of those two things, so neither a pistol shot proc nor a broadsides buff, then you should use a builder on 4, even though you do run the risk of having a Sinister Strike hit twice and generate a combo point that you can't actually fit on your bar. That's worth the risk. It's more efficient. That's the way to do it. And then below 4 combo points, of course, use a builder. Okay, so if you realize that you need to use a builder, it's pretty simple. There are not very many options for what to do here. If you have a pistol shot proc, you should press pistol shot. Now it is worth it to use Vanish for damage as Outlaw. It's a very slight increase, but it is worth it to do so. As long as you have 60 or more energy and you don't have the Skull and Crossbones buff active, it's worthwhile to hit Vanish and Ambush as a builder. Now, you do need to be careful with this. First off, don't do this at 4 combo points, obviously, because you will generate an extra combo point and that's not worth doing. And second off, if there's potential for Vanish to be useful, to get some utility out of the ability, if you can use it to even potentially make a mechanic easier or better for yourself, you should just save the Vanish and do that. It's a very minor gain to be using it on cooldown for ambush, but it is a gain, so I'm including it in the slide. And then the lowest priority builder is, of course, Sinister Strike. All right, let's talk about one of the trickier parts of the Outlaw rotation, finisher priority. Your first priority as a finisher is if you don't have any Roll the Bones buffs active, press Roll the Bones. Your second priority is to press Between the Eyes. This is only true, however, if you have the Ruthless Precision buff, so that's the buff that increases the critical strike chance, especially of Between the Eyes, or if you have Deadshot or Ace Up Your Sleeve. Any number of those traits will make it worth using Between the Eyes on cooldown as the highest priority, besides, of course, rolling with no buffs currently active. Your third priority is to re-roll the bones if you have bad buffs. So you're going to press this and you're going to try and overwrite bad buffs and instead get good buffs. Now, what are good buffs? That depends on your Azurite traits. If you have Ace Up Your Sleeve or Deadshot, even 1 copy of either of those traits, then good buffs for you means Ruthless Precision or 2 or more buffs. Anything other than that, and you're going to want to reroll at this spot on the priority list. If you don't have any Deadshot or Ace Up Your Sleeve traits, then you can also keep Grand Melee. So you'll keep Grand Melee, Ruthless Precision, or 2 or more buffs. Otherwise, you'll reroll at this spot on the priority list. Keep rerolling until you get these good buffs. There's no amount of times after which point you're going to want to just keep whatever bad buffs you have. People kind of have this, they want to stop re-rolling and they want to start pressing Dispatch instead to do damage. That's a mistake. You're just going to want to keep rolling until you get good buffs. There's an exception here where if the boss fight is about to end, right, if the boss is dying in the next 10, 15 seconds or whatever, and you're not going to get the full duration of a new roll, then you can stop re-rolling, of course, and just start dispatching instead. And of course, the fourth priority on the finisher list is Dispatch. All right, so let's talk about cooldowns now. As an Outlaw Rogue, your main cooldown is Adrenaline Rush, which you're going to want to use on cooldown. Press this button on cooldown. Don't delay it for anything. Don't try to line it up with anything. Just press it on cooldown. Otherwise, you're going to be missing out on a lot of value from your Restless Blades passive and from any true bearing buffs that you roll. While we're on the topic of Adrenaline Rush, I'd just like to briefly say that Adrenaline Rush does not impact your rotation while it's active at all. You're going to want to continue doing everything just as if you didn't have it active, except of course things will be a little bit faster paced. The main thing here though is that you don't change your reroll priority at all. You're going to want to continue rerolling until you get good buffs, even if that means you never do any dispatches during your Adrenaline Rush. You're also going to want to use Blade Rush or Killing Spree if you've talented either one of those on cooldown, and you're going to want to do it at low energy. Now what low energy exactly means depends on like your haste, and it depends on whether you're playing Blade Rush or Killing Spree, but a good rule of thumb is that you can use Blade Rush pretty much anytime you're not energy capped, but if you want to use Killing Spree, you should try and dump as much of your energy as possible before doing so. It's also worth noting with Blade Rush and Killing Spree that if you can hold them for a few seconds for an AoE phase, it's worth doing. You're going to want to use your second potion with an Adrenaline Rush at some point during the fight. If you're able to get an Adrenaline Rush in your Bloodlust, that's a good one to put your second pot with. That's going to be the best spot to do it. Otherwise, just do it with any of your Adrenaline Rushes. All right, now your final cooldowns are going to be determined based on your race. Most races have an active racial DPS cooldown of some kind or other. If that is not on the global cooldown, just use it on cooldown. If it is on the global cooldown, then just use it sometime when you're energy starved, and when you can't press any of your rotational buttons because of that. All right, now let's talk about the Outlaw Rogue opener. Our opener is pretty straightforward. You basically just run up to your target and start doing your rotation at it. However, there is a neat trick that you can do to get a little bit more DPS out. And this trick involves using Adrenaline Rush before combat starts, rather than having to use a global while you could attack the boss, using that on Adrenaline Rush. So it's a slight increase to do this. Now what you want to do is 0.8 seconds before the pull starts, you're going to want to hit Adrenaline Rush and then Stealth. In order for this to work, you need to not be stealthed at the point when you hit Adrenaline Rush, because that will take you out of stealth and incur a cooldown on stealth, such that you can't actually re-stealth before combat begins. So you really want to avoid doing that. So 0.8 seconds before the pull, 0.8 of course being the global cooldown after being affected by Adrenaline Rush's global cooldown reducing effect. You're going to want to hit Adrenaline Rush and then Stealth. You can actually macro these together as well. You can do a macro that does /cast Adrenaline Rush, /cast Stealth, and that will work for you. Then, on the pull, you're going to want to hit your pre-pot, and you're going to want to start with Ambush. Then after that, just proceed with your rotation as normal. So that means the first thing we do is we decide whether or not we're going to use a builder or a finisher. And of course we have 2 combo points, so we're going to want to use a builder. We don't have a pistol shot proc active, so we're not going to use pistol shot. We do have 60 or more energy, and we don't have skull and crossbones rolled, so we're going to use Vanish Ambush. Now we're at 4 combo points. What are we going to do? Do we use a builder or do we use a finisher? Well, we don't have broadsides, we don't have a pistol shot proc, so we're going to use a builder. And we don't have Vanish off cooldown, so we're going to use Sinister Strike. And then we are going to use a finisher because we have 5 combo points. And our finisher priority, we're going to use Roll the Bones because we don't have any buffs. And you're just going to keep going with your rotation as normal from there. All right, now if for whatever reason you don't want to do the pre-combat Adrenaline Rush that we talked about, you know, it's fiddly, you don't like it, there's something about the boss that makes it impossible to do, then you're instead going to just want to go pre-pot Ambush on pull, and then you're going to want to proceed with your rotation as normal. So the first thing we do is, Adrenaline Rush is off cooldown, we'll hit that, and then we just go through Vanish Ambush, Sinister Strike, Roll the Bones, and just go from there. Thanks for watching part 3 of my guide to Outlaw Rogue. I hope you've enjoyed this video, I hope you found it useful. If you have any questions or if I have to issue any corrections, they'll be in the comment section below. I'll pin them if need be. There are also some resources for you in the description of this video that you might enjoy. You might also enjoy some of the other content on my channel, particularly the other parts of this guide. This should be in a playlist, so you should be able to find those pretty easily. I'd appreciate it if you enjoyed this video, if you'd like it, if you'd subscribe to my channel, all that would be really cool. I also stream over at twitch.tv/Dratnos, so throw me a follow there, and sometime you'll see me playing this when I'm live. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.